Welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 244, As Clear as Crystal. The episode begins with Ash and the gang continuing on their journey, with Ash actually still being a Pikachu after what had happened with Lily last episode. Whoa, was our protagonist actually going to be a Pikachu for the entire rest of the series now? Well, no, because immediately after a few minutes of walking, when the episode began, a white puff of smoke then appeared, and as a result, Ash emerged from the smoke back to normal, as the spell had now worn off. Ash and the gang then walk over a hill, with Ash hoping that Blackthorn City was on the other side, believing that it would be, but unfortunately it wasn't, revealing that Ash and the gang had gotten lost, leaving Misty to get angry as fuck at the fact that they had gotten lost in yet another forest, which they always seem to do no matter what. Misty orders Brock to get them unlost by looking in his guidebook, but Brock unfortunately claims that even his guidebook couldn't get them out of this situation, which just caused her to yell at Brock. Ash tried to calm Misty down by stating that getting lost was out of their control, and they should just wait for luck to hit them, confident that they would eventually reach their destination, leading Misty to yell at him even more, blaming Ash for getting them lost, since he was distracting them being a Pikachu, and also stating that she liked Ash better when he was a cute Pikachu, as opposed to himself. Brock manages to calm Misty down by telling her that they would eventually have to reach a Pokemon Center somewhere, as they seem to be almost everywhere, and upon hearing about a Pokemon Center, Misty began to fantasize about finally getting to stop walking in the middle of the woods and taking a break in the Pokemon Center where she could get some beauty sleep. However, Ash retorted that no amount of beauty sleep could actually make Misty beautiful, which pissed Misty off even more. Thankfully, Brock didn't have to calm Misty down this time, as she was distracted, along with Brock and Ash as well, when two people showed up, dressed in some sort of concert uniforms, being purple and orange. The two people, who were obviously Team Rocket in disguise, claimed that they had just designed a machine known as the Pika Power Mach 2 that was designed to restore the electricity of tired electric Pokemon, like Ash's Pikachu. And they then request that Ash put his Pikachu in the machine, as James unveils it by throwing off the white cloth covering it. Ash was a bit hesitant to put Pikachu in the chair, as Pikachu didn't seem to need a recharge of any kind, but Jesse literally ripped Pikachu out of Ash's hands, claiming that he needed to go in the chair, and then placed him on. The chair then locks Pikachu to it, and Jesse radios Meowth, telling him to come in and do his part, as he swoops in the Meowth balloon and picks up Jesse, James, and the chair containing Pikachu, and they fly into the sky, as Jesse and James throw off their disguises to reveal themselves as they do their motto. Jesse then taunts Ash to tell Pikachu to use Thunderbolt, confident that it wouldn't work this time. Ash doubted this, and thought that Jesse could have just been trying to lie to him, to try and convince him not to use Thunderbolt, so he ordered Pikachu to use Thunderbolt, but unfortunately, it turned out that Jesse was right, as it didn't do anything bad to them. In fact, it only helped them, as Pikachu's Thunderbolt proceeded to charge the chair that it was attached to, since the chair seemed to conduct electricity. James confirms this, stating that if Pikachu kept using Thunderbolt, then the machine would drain Pikachu of all of its energy, and also redirect the energy to Team Rocket's Meowth balloon and a back-scratching rod that was attached to it. So Team Rocket could get essentially wire brush level back scratches, thanks to Pikachu's energy. Wobbuffet then popped out of its Pokeball forcibly, as the light of the chair machine lit up, indicating that it was becoming fully charged. Ash tells Pikachu to stop using Thunderbolt, so it at least didn't charge up their machine, and Pikachu tried to oblige, but it couldn't, which revealed that the machine was somehow also able to draw away any electricity inside of something, essentially forcing Pikachu to use Thunderbolt. Team Rocket taunted that they would only let Pikachu go if Ash handed over all the rest of his Pokemon. Ash panicked at first, not wanting Pikachu to lose all of its electric power, but when he directed his attention to the lights on the machine that had lit up, and noticed that several weren't, he came to the conclusion that he might be able to overcharge the machine with electricity if he was able to get all the lights to light up. So Ash simply ordered Pikachu to give it his all, and use all the electric power that he could, and eventually this caused all the lights to light up, and caused the chair to be overrun and explode. This sends Team Rocket blasting off, and sets Pikachu free from the destroyed chair, and Ash catches him before he falls to the ground, happily, and hugs him as tight as he could, hoping not to lose him anymore. Just then, though, Pikachu passed out from having used up too much of its electricity, so Ash and the gang decided that they had to hope that there was a Pokemon Center nearby, and go to find one to heal Pikachu. As they're looking for one, at this point willing to settle for just a random passerby who happened to know how to heal Pikachu, they then run into a girl, who had decided to come and talk to the gang after seeing that Pikachu looked exhausted as fuck. However, before she could inquire as to what was going on, Brock then went up to her and tried to flirt with her as usual, leading Misty to drag him off as usual. This gives Ash the opportunity to explain what had happened, and proceed to ask the girl if she knew where they could get Pikachu looked after, since there didn't seem to be a Pokemon Center nearby, adding that they had been walking for miles. The woman responded by revealing that her name was Crystal, although she seemed hesitant to inform Ash and the gang of a place where Pikachu could get healed, but seeing how desperate they were and how injured Pikachu looked, she decided to lead them to a place that she knew, though made them promise that the place that they were going to must never be exposed to anyone else, so Ash and the gang would have to keep the place a secret, and Ash and the gang of course agreed. So, Crystal leads Ash and the gang up a nearby hill, and Ash was so preoccupied with looking after his exhausted Pikachu that he barely saw the multitude of other electric Pokemon along the hill, though he did manage to catch some glimpses, especially when all the electric Pokemon began climbing up the large hill, leading Crystal to reveal that all the electric Pokemon were going to the same place that they were, for a special reason. Everyone then arrives at the top of the hill, which had a huge beautiful lake on top, where all of the electric Pokemon proceeded to hop in and soak. Crystal revealed that she worked around this lake to study it, as she had found that the lake seemed to have magical healing powers. which was why all of the electric Pokemon went inside the lake, as just like Pikachu, they were low on electricity, and the water charged them up. Ash and the gang questioned what made the lake able to do something like this, but Crystal ignored their questions for now, and simply told Ash to put Pikachu in the water, and sure enough, Pikachu was soon good as new, fully charged. Ash and the gang were still in disbelief as to how this was possible, so Crystal pointed to some other electric Pokemon bathing in the lake, as Ash and the gang saw them get charged up as well, proving that this wasn't a hallucination with Pikachu. Crystal then finally decides to reveal how this was possible, stating that there was a secret in the lake that even she wouldn't have known about if she hadn't been studying it, and she then gets Ash and the gang on a speedboat, and they head to the center of the lake. Once at the middle of the lake, the location of the secret, Crystal then lifts up a panel from the floor of the speedboat, revealing some glass underneath, and Ash and the gang use the glass to peer into it and see the secret of the lake. A huge blue literal crystal, which Crystal stated was known as the legendary crystal, and was situated on a pedestal in what seemed to be an underwater temple. Crystal clarifies that this crystal was the source of the energy that seemed to be being provided to all the electric Pokemon, and explained that electric Pokemon seem to have been coming to this lake for many, many years, and according to a legend that she had found, the underground temple used to be on the surface right here in the middle of the lake, but it sank into the water along with the crystal after torrential rains, which explained why the crystal was located almost at the bottom of the lake. Unbeknownst to Ash and the gang, Team Rocket were spying on them, along with eavesdropping on their conversation with a listening device from some bushes. Upon hearing about the powers of the legendary crystal, they instantly wanted to steal it for themselves so that they could sell it and become rich, and therefore be able to buy a super expensive palace and super expensive clothing for Jessie, as well as a super expensive spa day for Jessie. Meowth also suggested that they could split the crystal in two, and then sell half of it and keep the other half for themselves, so that they could build huge crystal structures, and therefore sell them to make even more money. Team Rocket, including Wobbuffet, which had forcibly popped out of his Pokeball, were very intrigued by these ideas, so they put their plan to steal it into action. They got their chance to put their plan into action when Ash and the gang returned to shore from their speedboat and were about to go inside Crystal's cabin, as they talked about how they all understood why the crystal needed to be kept a secret, as thieves could steal it. Ironically, Team Rocket was now stealing the crystal in their tentacle sub, as they were out in the water now. Much to Jessie and James' joy and surprise, it was very easy for them to get the crystal. They got it with no interference. Unfortunately for Team Rocket, though, it seems they could never get a full W, as soon as they retrieved the crystal, the immense glow that it was emitting began to fade entirely. Since the crystal's light emanated the whole lake, Ash and the gang were able to see the light disappear from outside Crystal's cabin, and Crystal instantly declared that something must have been wrong with the crystal, now that its light was gone. Just then, Team Rocket's Tentacruel sub emerges out of the water with the crystal, as Team Rocket jump out of the Tentacruel sub and quickly do their motto as they laugh, escaping on their Meowth balloon, flying away. Ash and the gang and Crystal were so mad that the crystal was being stolen that they were frozen in place. However, the electric Pokemon weren't, as it was their only way of healing themselves, and they didn't want it to be taken. So, a whole bunch of the electric Pokemon, including a Magnemite, Electrode, Voltorb, Raichu, Electabuzz, Jolteon, Chinchou, and Ampharos began to use Thunderbolt on the balloon, with Ash's Pikachu joining in as well, at Ash's command. Since Team Rocket was flying away at a decent speed, the electric Pokemon and Pikachu all had to catch up to Team Rocket first, but once they did, the Thunderbolts made contact. Unfortunately, though, they didn't seem to do any damage. Ash and the gang knew something wasn't right, and soon realized that the electricity was all being absorbed into a machine at the bottom of the balloon, which Meowth happily revealed was their new and improved Pika Power Mach 3. And Team Rocket was very proud of this new machine, gloating that it was their best one yet. And at full power, with enough electricity, it could release enough strength, even more so than a powerful Ursaring. Being the Pika Power Mark III, just like the previous, it forcibly drained the electric power of electric Pokemon, making them unable to stop using their electric attacks. Because of this, all of the electric Pokemon began to get very tired, and they couldn't recharge since the crystal was no longer in the lake. In a Deus Ex Machina moment, though, a roar is heard as thunderstorm clouds appear, shortly followed by Zapdos as soon as thunder and lightning arrive. And this huge bolt of lightning also breaks the cord between the electric Pokemon and the machine, freeing them, and stopping the electric Pokemon from being drained of any more electricity. Ash had obviously never seen a Zapdos before, so he used his Pokedex on it, which revealed it as one of the 3 legendary birds, along with Moltres and Articuno. Team Rocket gazed upon Zapdos in amazement, declaring that they were going to capture the Zapdos and use it to pay off their debt to Delibird and Team Rocket, as Giovanni would definitely want a legendary bird. And Team Rocket knew that they could take Zapdos to Giovanni as well, as they would simply be able to absorb Zapdos' electricity if it tried to attack them. Sure enough, this was proved right, as Team Rocket laughed, gloating, as Zapdos fired a Thunderbolt at them after flying up to the machine. Sure enough, the electric energy is absorbed into the machine, therefore making Zapdos forced to keep releasing electricity just as the other electric Pokemon were forced to, essentially trapping it. Ash and the gang and Crystal were shocked, as they figured that a legendary bird would have enough power to overload the machine immediately and not be affected by it. Team Rocket denied this, stating that their new machine was impervious to any amount of power, but they were soon proven wrong, as Zapdos, knowing that all of its electric power was getting absorbed anyways, decided to unleash most of it in one blow, which was powerful enough to redirect all of the absorbed electricity from the machine onto the balloon itself, causing the balloon to explode and sending Team Rocket blasting off, destroying the machine as well. Unfortunately, not all was well, as due to losing so much of its electricity, Zapdos fell to the ground, severely injured and tired, right by Crystal's cabin as the storm clouds disappeared. Ash and the gang and Crystal immediately run to Zapdos' aid, as it was still flailing about and angry at the fact that it had lost all of its power, and it was eventually so weak that it fainted. While Ash and the gang and Crystal try to help Zapdos and get it to regain consciousness, Crystal reveals that Zapdos was the real secret she was trying to keep at the lake, not the crystal. She explains that this didn't diminish the importance of the crystal, though, as Zapdos used it to recharge itself, not just the other measly electric Pokemon. So, with that, Ash and the gang realized that the only way that they would be able to help Zapdos recover was by getting the crystal back so it could recharge. So, Ash and the gang decided to leave Crystal behind to look after Zapdos as they went to go get the crystal, looking for where Team Rocket could have blasted off to. It seems Ash and the gang would luckily be able to find Team Rocket quickly, as Pikachu sensed where the crystal was located, with Team Rocket obviously still being the ones that had the crystal, with Pikachu being able to sense the crystal since it was an electric Pokemon, and it was drawn to its power, because, the crystal was linked to electric Pokemon and all that. Pikachu storms off, following the sense without warning, leaving Ash and gang to follow. Speaking of Team Rocket, they had indeed crash-landed somewhere in the forest, and were badly injured, almost knocked out, but still had the crystal, which they were very happy about. Since they were almost knocked out, this allowed them to daydream on and on about what they wanted to do with the crystal in their pretty much sleep. They had all pretty much agreed with Meowth's suggestion of splitting the crystal in half and using half of it to make a whole bunch of shit with the crystal, Jessie especially, as she imagined herself in various crystal castles. Their daydreaming was then interrupted as they were woken up when Ash and the gang arrived, having found them. Jessie and James knew that Ash and the gang wanted the crystal, and they weren't going to let them have it, so they sent out their Arbok and Victreebel respectively to guard the crystal, although James had to deal with Victreebel eating him first, as usual. Arbok then went in for a poison sting on Pikachu, but Pikachu dodged and used Quick Attack to do so, and then also knocked Arbok into Jessie with the force of the Quick Attack. This leaves James to attack with Razor Leaf with his Victreebel, but Victreebel ends up meeting the same fate as Arbok, as it goes tumbling into James after Pikachu uses Quick Attack again. With Team Rocket seemingly defeated, Ash demanded that Team Rocket surrender and give up the crystal, but Jessie refused, as she seemingly threw Wobbuffet at Ash and the gang, but this wasn't an actual Wobbuffet, it was a Wobbuffet balloon, which inflates and bursts, causing a huge dust storm as a result, blinding Ash and the gang and distracting them, so Jessie could throw out a second Wobbuffet balloon, and this time only inflate this one, not explode it, so Team Rocket were able to fly away in the Wobbuffet balloon. This leads Ash to send out Bayleaf to use Vine Whip in an attempt to grab the crystal before the balloon flew away, but James saw this, so he ordered his Victreebel to use Vine Whip as well, and the two grass types essentially got into a tug-of-war for the crystal, with both of their vines on it, with neither side seeming to give an inch. This was until Jessie ordered Arbok to intervene and use Poison Sting on Bayleaf, which made Bayleaf begin to lose her grasp on the crystal a little bit, and on top of this, Arbok then began to go attack Pikachu as well as Ash and the gang, although Pikachu didn't let it get to them as he used Thunderbolt. Unfortunately, Victreebel was able to grab the crystal from Bayleaf, but thanks to Pikachu's Thunderbolt, it was strong enough to make Victreebel drop the crystal and send Team Rocket blasting off. Even with Team Rocket gone, though, the crystal was still falling to the ground, so Ash lunged to catch it, and even though he did, he managed to find his way off a cliff and was about to fall to his death, but thankfully, Bayleaf was able to step in and grab Ash with her vines and pull him up. With the crystal now safe once again, Ash and the gang, Crystal, and all of the electric Pokemon then return to the lake, where Ash dives underwater, having taken off his jacket, where he places the crystal back at its rightful place in the underwater temple. Misty, Brock, Crystal, and Zapdos watch as Ash resurfaces above the lake, only for none of them to see the crystal glowing, indicating that it was still drained of all its power somehow. Pikachu thinks that the crystal may have merely just needed electrical energy to charge it up, theorizing that the crystal deployed electric energy to heal up electric Pokemon, so that electric energy had to have come from somewhere. So, very determined to restore the crystal, Pikachu swims underwater to shock the crystal, hoping to give it electric energy to recharge it, and sure enough, this works, as it begins glowing once more. But the glow disappears right as Pikachu reaches the surface, so Pikachu leads all of the other electric Pokemon underwater, and they power up the crystal with their electric attacks, making it glow again, as all the electric attacks combined were far more powerful than just one. With the crystal now recharged, Ash and the gang and Crystal came to the conclusion that it should now be able to heal up Zapdos, so they lifted Zapdos into the water as it, in its weakened state, sank to the bottom and made contact with the crystal. However, as the crystal began to heal Zapdos, it eventually ran out of power, as Zapdos required too much. So, this led Pikachu and all the other electric Pokemon to simply charge up the crystal yet again with their electric attacks, also charging up Zapdos, not just because of the crystal, but because their own attacks were also making direct contact with Zapdos. With Zapdos now fully healed, it quickly flew out of the water and shot a huge bolt of electricity at the crystal, which was so powerful, due to being a combination of all of the other Electricmon's electricity in one, that the crystal's glow was now fully restored, as Ash and the gang and Crystal could see the glow from the shore. All of the other electric Pokemon then go up to the surface and thank Zapdos for its help, happy that the crystal was now presumably permanently recharged, as Zapdos saw that its duties were done, and it flew off, as some more storm clouds appeared briefly. As the Zapdos disappeared into the distance, Ash and the gang and Crystal, along with the electric Pokemon, all waved goodbye to it. Crystal then thanks Ash and the gang for all their help, very pleased that the crystal was restored, and Ash and the gang promised to never tell anyone what they had saw at the lake, neither the Zapdos or the crystal itself, or the whole ordeal that happened today, obviously. Brock then tries to flirt with Crystal one last time, but as usual, Misty just drags him off, and then Ash and the gang all wave goodbye to Crystal as they continue on their journey to Blackthorn City. The episode then ends with Team Rocket having been blasted off onto a cliff, with Jessie hanging onto the cliff, James hanging onto Jessie, Meowth hanging onto James, and Wobbuffet hanging onto Meowth. They were complaining about how bad their situation was, only to see that their situation would get a whole lot worse, as none other than Zapdos passed by them and electrocuted them, flying away, not even paying them any attention. Surprisingly, this electrocution only severely injured Team Rocket, and didn't even cause them to let go of the cliff or each other. Lucky bastards.